Hello and welcome to a very special day because it is the first day of the Tennis Menu's Roland Garros Daily Show. Val Furbo here with you. And you can head to thetennismenu.com and get an annual subscription for just $99.90 US, which includes over 600 tennis-specific drills and resources to make you a better tennis coach. Tennismenu.com, all of that is on there. We have got a bumper edition of the show to kick things off on the red dirt of Paris today. The balls, big talking point. Dan Evans said you wouldn't give them to your dog to chew. So that's a really interesting topic. We'll get to that. We're going to get to the men's results. Some big and long matches last night. Jeremy Chardy involved in one of those. He was on the receiving end, and Juan Ignacio Londero on the winning end of one of those as well. Benoit Paire somehow getting through after tanking through Rome and then feeling ill in Hamburg. Lot to get through, but before we do any of that, Val Furbo here with you. Marc Safoulis, the best tennis coach in the business, joining us here as he did over the US Open. Marc, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Val, and great to see you guys again. And obviously, what a great day of tennis. Unbelievable scenes with the weather and the way that it was going. The ball's a massive talking point, and we'll touch on that as we've got some I've got some data based on the average speeds of the ball is a lot less than it was last year, and we'll touch on that as we go along.
Yep, and also Stan Wawrinka, Andy Murray, who won that. We're going to talk about that match a little bit as well. And I know a man that was very excited about that matchup was Joel Frucci. Joel, how are you?
Yeah, going well, Val. Just quietly, how 2020 was yesterday. We had day one of the French Open and a 500 final on the same day. Crazy.
Yeah, well, the Hamburg final as well. Andrei Rublev getting over Stefanos Tsitsipas, who served for the championship and choked again as he did at the US Open. So, things aren't going well for Stefanos Tsitsipas at the moment, but hopefully a change of fortune in France. A final at a 500 event, not a bad way to kick things off in the clay season. But, well, the first day of Roland Garros kicked off last night, and the men's draw, we'll start with that. There were a few really interesting matches, and I think, well, Joel, on our draw preview show on Friday, I think it was, you said David Gauff would get through to the quarterfinal. He got absolutely smashed by Yannick Sinner last night, the young Italian superstar, I should say, 7-5, 6-love, 6-3. Stan Wawrinka over Andy Murray. This was a really interesting matchup. The last time they met at Roland Garros, well, Stan's knees went and Andy's hip went, and they both became old men, and now Stan's back. He's belted Murray 6-1, 6-3, 6-2 to move through to the second round of the tournament. Alexander Zverev, we thought, what was he going to do when he got to Paris, and how was he going to be able to perform? Taking on Denis Novak of Austria, he won 7-5, 6-2, 6-4. This match, though, Jeremy Chardy serving for it in the third set at 5-4 up against Rodionov of Austria. He lost. Rodionov getting through 3-6, 4-6, 7-6, 6-4, 10-8. Now, I want to talk to you about this because there was another advantage fifth set match, Marc, and that was between Juan Ignacio Londero and Federico Del Boni of Argentina, the all-Argentinian affair. Londero won the first two sets, 6-4, 7-6, 2-6, 1-6, and then 14-12 in an epic encounter. Now, probably a triple-ended question. They were playing late at night, bucketing down rain, no crowd. Advantage fifth set. It doesn't really exist as much anymore with all of the other three slams having the tie break. Yes, Wimbledon does have advantage to a point, but the French Open, you still have to win by 2. And also the conditions, how are they going to change things, especially going from day to night? This match went for 4 hours and 54 minutes. So talk us through playing an advantage fifth set and what you as a coach would want to be trying to instill in your player, or an advantage third set, just any sort of deciding set that you have to win by 2 when you get to that 6-all point. And then when the conditions start, what are you how do you even cope with that when it starts belting down on the clay? That must be unplayable conditions.
Yeah, it was tough. And it was interesting listening to Victoria Azarenka and some of her comments around, she called the referee out saying, you've got to stop this match. Like, it was slippery. And she was saying to the referee, you've got to stop it. And there's no doubt, the rain on clay makes such a massive difference. You can't play on a hard court when it's raining. You can't play on a grass court when it's raining. But as soon as it rains on clay, it has to be extremely hard and puddling for the referee, the umpire, to stop, because you can still play it and it's not actually as dangerous. But it does make it extremely heavy. it does make it extremely slow, and it does keep you out there for a long period of time. And there's no doubt that match went for a long, long time. Obviously, starting during the day and finishing off at night as well. Two totally different ends of the spectrum in terms of conditions. A lot faster during the day and a lot slower at night. And that would have been a real challenge, obviously, for both players. But how do you prepare them? Well, you can't really prepare for a 14-12 in the fifth set. You're not going to go out and simulate that sort of stuff. But at the same time, it's important that physically you are conditioned for a best of 5 set match. Now, I'm a big fan of tradition, and I'm a big fan of the advantage sets. And I think they the best matches in history have been the ones that have gone to these levels. And I feel like, you always look back on the 14-12s and the John Isner's 63, 61 kind of. There you go. And I think it's a great, a really good thing. We always look back on those matches as the best matches. Now, 7-6 in the third, if everyone's winning 7-6, in the fifth or the third set, yeah, okay, it's a good match. But when you see those massive scores, I think it takes you back and it gives you those great memories. And, those matches are some of the best matches we've ever witnessed in the game. So how do you prepare them? Well, you can't really prepare them for 5 sets, and that's all you can do as a coach.
Yeah, just stick to your strengths and try and control the controllables, Mark.
Absolutely. That's all you can do, especially when it's teeming down rain. You can't control the weather. So embrace it, enjoy it, and just go about your game the way you would as per normal.
Exactly. And when you're a qualifier that's done it like Yuri Rodionov, he's already played the 3 matches to get into the tournament. Now he's done it in the opening round. Has that damaged him for the next match at all, or does it just depend on conditioning?
Absolutely. It depends on conditioning. And obviously, the 3 matches, I feel like coming through qualifying sometimes is a real benefit because you've had a chance to condition yourself for the actual environment you're playing in. You're used to the conditions. You've had a lot of matches under your belt. You match hard. You're ready to go. And sometimes, like example now, the players aren't quite prepared. They might have only had 1 or 2 matches on a clay court if they haven't proceeded through the draws in the previous week. So, I think, Rodionov is obviously in a good position, match hard, ready to play. He may be a bit tired now, 4 matches in, and obviously, a massive match there. And obviously, Londero is the same, 14-12. You get through and it's a long, long match. Can that hold you in good stead, or will that hurt you? It just depends on the individual.
Well, I said Londero was going to bloody make a quarterfinal on Friday, so he better bloody get through.
Better than my quarterfinal prediction.
Look, speaking of Juan Ignacio Londero, he'll take on Marco Cecchinato in the second round, and who can forget Tancredi Palmieri's pronunciation lesson for John McEnroe back in the 2018 French. Cecchinato destroyed Alex de Minaur, Joel, last night, 7-6, 6-4, 6-love. Does it get more French Open than that? A second round between Nero and Cecchinato? I don't think it does.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's interesting with Cecchinato though. Cecchinato. I think what's the figure? He's never been past the second round of a Grand Slam, other than when he made the semifinals of that French Open. It's incredible. And look, I think as soon as we saw that draw when he was drawn to play Alex de Minaur, I think we were all a little bit concerned, boys, because it really stuck its head out as a danger matchup for Alex. And of course, he hasn't been in the best form on clay this year. Of course, lost to Dominic Kopfer in Rome. And I mean, how crazy in that second set, that one game that went for a good 25, 30 minutes. Just crazy. And then the final set ended up going for about 20. So I guess it was very tennis, wasn't it? It was 2 extremes, but yeah, real shame to see Alex de Minaur go out. But yeah, I mean, to see Marco Cecchinato back doing well on the French, no surprise in some respects.
Yeah, no, well, the guy has been top 20 in the world. Everybody forgets that. He's been a very big fluctuator, typical kind of Italian sort of interest. He gets, he can play well for a few weeks, and then the next few weeks he'll do badly, and then he'll come back and beat the world number 1. So good on Cecchinato. He's absolutely unbelievable when he's on, and who can forget that win over Djokovic in 2018. But Borna Coric, quarterfinalist at the US Open. Well, we brought this man's name up on Friday. Norbert Gombos. He's through. He's beaten Choric 6-4, 3-6, 6-3, 6-4. That's a massive win for the Slovenian. Stefano Travaglia through the Italian over Pablo Andujar in straight sets. Jordan Thompson, the Aussie fourth round of the US Open, fell to Choric, is out. He got destroyed by Radu Albot 6-2, 6-4, 6-1. Taylor Fritz also through. Sebastian Korda, son of 1998 Australian Open winner Peter Korda. He goes through for his first main draw Grand Slam win. So fantastic to beat the journeyman Andreas Seppi, who was one of the only blights for the Italians yesterday, who had a great day again. Dominic Keffer, he's through. He beat Antoine Huang. Benjamin Bonzi, who is also through, defeated Rusevori of Finland. And Federico Coria, younger brother of 2004 finalist Guillermo Coria, is through to round 2. But another couple of matches, or 4 matches here that I've got that I want to talk to you guys about. And Mark, we'll start with you. So the conditions at the French Open, they've been labelled very sticky, and they've been labelled, and John Isner was one that labelled it as a very slow, hard court. Is this going to suit someone like an Isner to maybe make a deep run at this tournament? He's gotten through over Elliot Benchetry, 6-4, 6-1, 6-3. That's a big win over a Frenchman in France on the clay for someone that wouldn't traditionally be at home on a surface like this.
Yeah, it's interesting comments. Speaking to a few people that are involved at the French Open at the minute, the data's saying that the ball speed off the ground strokes is on average 9 kilometers slower than it was last year. Now, that's massive because, if you think about it now, the serve, it won't make a huge impact to, because you've obviously got total control of that play. And if you lose 9 Ks and you're John Isner and you're already serving 230 Ks, 221 ain't bad. So it's not too bad. But if you're a person off the ground that is, hitting 100 Ks an hour, 110 Ks an hour, and you lose that 9 Ks, it can be the difference a little bit. So does it play into their hands? Yeah, I think it gives them a better chance. There's no doubt. I don't think on the clay that, getting all the way through for a John Isner would be probably what we're going to be thinking, but it will help him a little bit because the game itself, the players don't get to the balls as well. They don't slide as far because the courts are stickier. They don't get as far a reach. So if John Isner can pop a big serve, big first ball, he can be in control of the point a little bit more than if the ball comes back and the other player's got the ability to move a little bit easier and slide around the court. So, there's a few, obviously, pros and cons for the weather and obviously for these players. The other one I wanted to run by you is the difference between playing the indoor and the outdoor could be quite significant as well. So if you do have a roof over your head, the conditions do become slightly faster, a little bit more humid than if you're outside in those cold conditions. So, will that affect Rafael Nadal as much as we think it will? I don't know. I think it may be a counter. I know the balls are very heavy, extremely heavy and extremely slow. Now the word is that the balls are containing more moisture than the old Babolat balls. So as soon as the balls are open, they're heavier as it is to start with, but they are containing more moisture in the felt, therefore becoming heavier and harder to actually pop. So that's some of the feedback coming from the players at the tournament. Now, I think indoors, though, there might be a slight counter with Rafael Nadal having probably a bit faster conditions inside than they are outside. And I can't see him playing on an outside court too often when you're a 12-time champion of Roland Garros.
Wouldn't think, but he does like to play on Suzanne Lenglen more than he does Philippe Chatrier because you've got the bigger backdrop between the baseline and the crowd. So I think Rafa would much prefer to be playing out there, and he might have to stick to Philippe Chatrier if he's going to win this title and win a 13th Roland Garros. But talking of the balls, Dan Evans, who fell in an epic 5-setter to Kei Nishikori 6-4 in the 5th last night, he said you wouldn't give the balls to your dog to chew. Now, I found that really interesting, guys. Now, it must be the tournament directors. Surely they would know these facts before the tournament started, wouldn't they? Or would they have made this decision before the tournament was going to go underway in May? And the balls would be a little bit different in that time of the year.
I think that was the case. And it's interesting because Rafa did talk about using the balls back in Mallorca in during the COVID lockdown period, and he said they weren't as bad then, and the weather can play a massive factor in the change of those conditions. So I think yesterday was only 11 or 12 degrees in France at one point, so it was absolutely freezing and a lot of moisture in the air, a lot of moisture on the court, and obviously a bit of rain. So, obviously the balls did not respond to the conditions at all.
Yep, exactly. Two other matches we've got here. Diego Schwartzman over Miyamir Kechmanovic. Kechmanovic won the title in Kitzbühel the week before Rome. Schwartzman obviously made the final there, beat Nadal 6-love, 6-1, 6-3. That's a huge win to the little Argentinian man. And Joel, you wrote a nice piece on the little men of tennis a couple of weeks or last week on the tennis menu. So head to the tennismenu.com and click on the blog tab for that piece. But that's a great win for Schwartzman. And then one of our favourites, Joel, Benoit Paire over Sonwoo.
Yeah.
Now, Benoit has been saying all week, guys, that he wants 2021 to roll around because he's struggling. He couldn't play in Hamburg. He had to retire. He pretty much tanked his match in Rome. He couldn't play the US Open. And before that, Chorich was up 6-love, 1-love in Cincinnati before he retired, before Paire retired hurt. Now, what is going on? He's won 7-5, 6-4, 6-4. Joel, can anybody, is this a more Benoit year than any other in history? Has to be.
Yeah, it's very Benoit, isn't it, Val? I think that's the best we can put it.
Yeah.
It's funny because we've mentioned this on Breakpoint as well that we were talking a lot about whether the virus would affect tennis, which if any players would come into contact with it. Obviously, we've seen a few, but the fact that it actually has happened to Benoit Paire and he's gone through this cycle of almost Benoitness is really fitting of the year, I think. But look, the fact that he's playing is a real surprise. After what he's been through, I'm actually quite stunned that he's playing, and more so that he actually managed to get that win.
Yeah, me too. Really stunned, and it's a big win for him. He can move through he's into the second round, and he's the 23rd seed, so gets that protected ranking at least. But this one, before we do move on to the women's, it's not the result I was expecting from this match, but Stan Wawrinka over Andy Murray, 6-1, 6-3, 6-2. He was all over him, really. It was a pure clinic. I was watching the highlights this morning, and Andy just couldn't really go with him on the clay. And Mark, I'm not sure if you saw any of the match, but to prepare for, when you're a player and you see such a difficult first round matchup for either of those two players, what are you trying to tell your player as a coach? Because it's sort of they've had such even careers. I guess Andy probably has had a little bit better of a career in terms of titles, been world number one, but for both of them, it's just such an interesting prospect to have to go up against someone that's of a very similar skill level and has done the things that you've done.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because both of them are obviously champions of our game and Grand Slam champions at that. And I think you got to look at the present though, and I think history can sort of distort our thoughts. And if you think of the present, I know they've both gone through surgeries, but you think of Andy Murray with, he's got a hip replacement pretty much. And it's interesting because I laid on the couch all weekend feeling as sick as I did. And I actually watched Andy Murray's documentary, and incredible what the guy has gone through. And to watch the results that have just happened, there's no way he could have probably got any deeper in this tournament. And beating someone like Stan would have been a really tough task because lateral movement on clay, and your hips are all about lateral movement. It's really, really challenging for anyone. And for someone who's got a metal hip, I know he and Bob Bryan are two players that have got the metal hip on the tour. And, I think with Andy, with that situation, I think he was out there to have a crack, but I don't think he was out there at that moment ready to really compete at the level. And, obviously Stan Wawrinka loves playing on the clay and has had success there before and has been a stalwart on clay as well. So, Andy Murray's best surface definitely isn't clay. He's obviously coming back from 2 hip surgeries, not 1. So it's a really challenging one for him. But, Stan's a great player and someone you wouldn't mind losing to if you had to lose to someone.
Yeah, exactly right. And look at the stats. The first serve percentage for Murray, 36% in. And Wawrinka's wasn't much better, 46%, but he won 87% of his first serve points and Andy Murray only 63. And then winning on second serve, Murray, 43%. So definitely not going to win many matches, especially on clay, with those statistics. So brilliant stuff from Wawrinka to move through to the second round and kick his season back off after missing the US Open. But we'll move over to the women's singles, guys. And Simona Halep, a really good start to her tournament. 6-4, 6-love over Sorribes Tormo. What a last name that is. I love the Spanish last names. I think we've got a trend on the now. We had Davidovic Fokina and now Sorribes Tormo. Annette Kontaveit fought back against Caroline Garcia, but fell out in the final set. Garcia winning that 6-4, 3-6, 6-4. Just a quick one, Mark, before we do get to some of the other results. Playing in front of a home crowd is something that a lot of people relish, but a lot of people struggle with. And Garcia has said in the past that she does struggle with it. And now with less people at the French Open, seems as though she's got through. There was barely anybody inside Philippe Chatrier last night, and she managed to get through.
It is interesting because I've coached, obviously, Australian players that have struggled in Australia, but they've done extremely well overseas. And, once the shackles are off, I think, it's interesting because you see the tabloids and they just literally are with you when you're going well and they just nail you when you're not. And it doesn't matter what country you're in. And obviously, France they'll be very patriotic. And if you're not doing well, they'll probably hang you out to dry. But, obviously she had less shackles on her yesterday. She obviously played the way we know she can play and obviously played some really good tennis. And it's a very interesting one. It can go either way. And, I know there's players that love their home crowd and they really thrive on it. But obviously Garcia doesn't. And it's a good result for her to get through. And it might actually give her a little bit of confidence moving forward because obviously Kontaveit is a great player. And for her to win a match like that is not only good for her confidence, but, obviously her form shows that she can beat a really good player. So it'd be very interesting to see how far she can go from here.
Yeah, I think so. And fingers crossed, she is a former world number 4. Everybody does forget that. She's a wonderful, wonderful player when she wants to be. And she's one of the nicer girls on the WTA, which is good to see because you see a lot of sort of bad behaviour between a couple of the players. But no, it's great to see Garcia doing well at the French Open. Victoria Azarenka destroyed Duncan Kevinic 6-1, 6-2. Now this one, Joel, you watched her against Garbine Muguruza in Rome. Coco Gauff has destroyed last year's semi-finalist Johanna Konta 6-3, 6-3. This is a mightily impressive victory.
Yeah, very good. And it's difficult to believe that she's still 16. I constantly have to remind myself of that. There's a tweet I put up on the tennis menu before, at the tennis menu on Twitter, of some of the players that she's beaten this year. Absolutely exceptional company. Naomi Osaka among them. Ons Jabeur, Venus Williams, and now Jo Konta as well. Incredible, really. I think clearly there's still things that Coco Gauff has to work on in her game to really make sure that she can stay at that elite level and keep climbing the rankings. I think the second serve for her is probably the big one based on having watched her play. But as we've seen, she's capable of playing these incredible matches where it all just clicks for her seamlessly. And Jo Konta as well. She's had her struggles in her last couple of Grand Slams. Hasn't gone past the second round, so that's a bit of a worry too. And speaking of relationships with the press, wasn't really too keen to answer a whole lot of questions in her press conference either. It's an interesting relationship that she has with the British press, but not to take anything away from Coco either. She really seems to thrive on playing at the highest level as well, which is great.
Yeah, she does, and it's a fantastic win. I don't like that. I think you should just answer the questions to the press. You may not enjoy it, but that's your role as a tennis player.
I think so too.
I'm speaking from a biased point in that being in the media, but no, I reckon, that's your role as a tennis player, answer the questions. And Djokovic didn't do that at the US Open. Konta's obviously been pretty standoffish here, so I don't like that. I think, just go in there, do your job. It's not hard. Just answer the questions, and you can go off and sulk if you want to. Elise Mertens through over...
I've got one for you here, boys. I've got one for you here. And
okay.
This is not on our run sheet. And I want to, it's a serious question. I'm just looking through yesterday's results. And out of every qualifier that played yesterday, only 2 of them lost. Now, this is a really interesting observation because I'm looking at it going, well, these players may be now used to the balls, used to the conditions a lot more than these players coming from the other venues. And is this going to play a role in tonight's matches? I think there could be a really big thing in this because I'm seeing a lot of those qualifiers get right through here, and this could be a little bit of a chance for the unsung heroes to get their name in lights and make a bit of money and get their points up. I think it's a big thing going on.
Well, maybe you're right, because we have seen a couple of lucky losers even get through, like Astra Sharma getting through over Anna Blinkova last night. And that's an amazing win. Sharma losing in the final round of qualifying and then getting herself through 7-5 in the third. And Mark, your tweet last night, in a blink, it was over. That's absolutely poor attempt at humour, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I'm on this show not for my coaching ability, but for my comic relief. So just get on board and laugh, because it's quite humorous for me.
I think that's both of us anyway. But yeah, no, you're right. I think it could be really interesting. Like we had a few qualifiers, even the fact that Eugenie Bouchard won the Nick Kyrgios Cup over Anna Kalinskaya last night. She's been playing on the clay as well, so she'll be used to the conditions. I don't know. We could see something in that. Rakhimova over Shelby Rogers. And I can't quite see any more here on the women's, but on the men's there are a few as well. Barbara Lepchenko fell to Barbara Stritzova, 7-5, 6-2. And even Martina Trevisan defeated Camilla Giorgi. Giorgi obviously retired 3-love in the second set, but there were a few. And even Podoroska. I've never actually seen her name before. There you go. Learn something new every day. She defeated Greta Minett 6-2, 6-1. My apologies there to Podoroska from Argentina that I had not seen her name before. But yeah, she's through to the second round as well. But yeah, some really interesting results. And Daria Gavrilova, another one. Her first Grand Slam back since the US Open last year. First Grand Slam main draw win, I think it's since it was the French Open last year in May. And she defeated Diana Yastremska, who, well, her year just keeps going from bad to worse, to be quite honest. She lost 4-6-3, dasher in her first Grand Slam back, as I said, in a year. That's a really poor loss for Yastremska after, separating with her coach. And then plus the blackface saga that she had earlier on in the year, where she had to apologise publicly for the sort of kind of racy photo that she put up. She hasn't had a good few months, has she?
No, she hasn't. And it's a great comeback for Gavrilova. I've seen her firsthand working down at Melbourne Park, and she has worked her backside off to get back to this point in her career. I think she's dropped to 700 and something in the world. It must be a protected ranking, although it's not put on the draw that it's a protected ranking entry. But, incredible result for her, and just so happy for her. She's such a happy-go-lucky girl, and someone that's worked really hard to get back. So well done to Dasha.
It is fantastic. And also Maddie Inglis gone against Katerina Alexandrova, 6-3, 6-3. Alexandra Sasnovich defeated Annalena Friedsam, 6-2, 2-6, 6-3. And Yulia Putintseva, she gets through, yes, very nice. She defeated Kirsten Flipkins 6-1, 6-2. So some good results there on the women's side. There's a lot of upsets brewing, and I think that's what we can be really excited about. Mark, you said it during the US Open. You can throw a massive blanket over the draw, and someone might not. Then a lot of the big seeds won't come out of that blanket alive. But Simona Halep still ticking along very nicely. So very good stuff from her. But the order of play tonight, a lot of big matches on Philippe Chatrier-Petrec, a bit of it to kick things off. Dominic Thiem against Marin Cilic. This one is very, very exciting. I'm not sure who's going to win, and if the ball is a bit heavier, Thiem may struggle against the hard-hitting Cilic. Serena Williams against Christy Ahn. Venus is out as well, which we didn't mention. She lost to Anna Karolina Schmedlova 6-4, 6-4. So difficult run for Venus on the clay. Igor Gerasimov against Rafa Nadal. We'll finally get to see how Rafa goes at the French amidst all of his comments saying that the conditions and the balls are a lot different to what he's used to, and that he might himself be beatable at a place where he's virtually unbeatable. Kiki Bertens, Elena Svitolina, Gael Monfils, Daniil Medvedev, all in action. The fat shamer Fabio Fognini, he's in action as well. Garbiñe Muguruza, Karen Khachanov, Aliza Cornet as well. On an Aussie side of things, John Millman taking on Pablo Carreño Busta, the semi-finalist at the US Open. Angie Kerber playing. We've got a lot of players coming up, and we're really excited about the matchups tonight. A lot more matches than last night, so we're going to see a lot. We're going to have a lot more tennis to talk about tomorrow, guys. But Joel, thank you very much for being part of the show today.
No worries, Jen. See you tomorrow.
We'll hear much more from Joel throughout the tournament. And Mark Safoulis, as always, mate, the best high-performance coach in the business. Thank you very much for your efforts.
Thank you very much, Val and Joel. And looking forward to tonight. And a little happy birthday to Serena Williams, 39 years of age. So the champion who is obviously looking to equal the the record of Grand Slams of Margaret Court, has a birthday. And I really wish her and her team well, obviously knowing Patrick Mouratoglou very well. And, I hope it all goes well for them this time. But, it's going to be really interesting matches tonight. Going to be some upsets. I can see it brewing, and the conditions are definitely going to throw some different stuff up tonight.
Yeah, you didn't tell me you knew Mouratoglou in the US Open showed up and going, hashtag better than Mouratoglou. Mark's the top performance coach in the business. We know him really well. So he's probably going to see this and go, who's this idiot? But I stand by my word. I stand by it. Mark's the absolute best in the business. Thank you very much.
Thanks, mate.
Remember, head to thetennismenu.com and get an annual subscription for just $99.90 US, which includes over 600 tennis-specific drills and resources to make you a better tennis coach. Any tennis coach out there, that is a wonderful tool that you can get around. So please do it, thetennismenu.com. I've been Val Febo, Joel Frucci and Marc Safoulis joining me at the French Open. It's underway. We're not in Paris, but the players are. And we'll talk about it more tomorrow.